And we're back. I've always wanted to do spoiler discussions on these games, but because no one seems to be doing it, especially on YouTube. So let's just start with the first game I played, Love Is All Around. Honestly, my impression after not playing it over a year, I was shocked at how realistic the writing is, because for my first impression or my first review, it was actually quite not that great. I honestly thought it was quite boring, and it's a very safe writing in my opinion. But after replaying it, I realized how maturely they handle the relationship after playing a bunch of them, and your actions do have consequences. I can see this happening in real life. So the story begins with a guy that goes in debt from a few bad decisions in the past. He is now in the city looking for work to pay off his debt, but we actually start off the game with him waking up in a girl's house, in which the girl asks whether you guys did it last night. And we cut into a flashback that sees the main character still working in an art gallery and meeting a different girl actually. Since the main character is an artist at heart, he met another art connoisseur in the art gallery and they hit it off. But sadly, his shift hasn't ended, so she left him and we're introduced to another girl, which is the first girl that you see in the beginning of the game. The way she's introduced is that she has a broken skirt that has a hole in it, and you come in as the knight in shining armor, inform her of the broken skirt, and she immediately fixes it by putting it in front. Honestly, in this day and age, I thought that could be considered a fashion statement. It's not really a problem. And at the end of the shift, the same girl actually asks you out for a drink. And honestly, for me, is this how people normally interact? Because I feel like suddenly asking strangers to go out to drink and getting drunk is really a bad idea, because you don't know the guy and like you don't have friends to accompany you. So for me personally, I feel like it is a bit risky. And we see a montage scene of them drinking a lot and they get hella drunk, and somehow the guy managed to call the first lady in the art gallery to pick them up. Somehow the guy trusts them and the girl just picks up the phone at 12 midnight, and somehow the girl manages to actually arrive in the club, manage to pick them both up and put the guy in sofa and put the other girl in her bed, which is, props to her, I guess, because I have no idea how she did that. And this is the first choice that you can make in terms of action other than dialogue. You can pick who to go to breakfast with, but it is immediately cancelled because you realize you left your phone in the club, and so you went back, I don't even know how, and you meet a college student, a part-timer, who is just suddenly pissed off at seeing you and gives you your phone back. And the manager is on your side saying that that's not how you treat a customer, but the girl said he was a dick last night, so there was no scene of that. So this guy could be either a red flag when he's drunk or not, we'll never know. And suddenly your brother appears out of nowhere and asks you where you've been, and just suddenly wants to help you find a place to stay in. And somehow your brother finds potential housemates to live with, and of course our main character picks the decent looking girl out of all the candidates, but at the end the brother still blames us for being picky anyway, so it really doesn't make sense. And somehow he said we're lucky that someone called back, and turns out that place, that apartment, is where the college girl lives, the one that calls you a dick in the club. And naturally, of course she doesn't want you there, but the brother insists that he can stay, but the girl says no, you can't, because I specifically asked the landlord that I do not want opposite genders to live with me. But sadly she did not get that in writing, and the brother said verbal agreements do not count, so you can either pick to be an asshole here or not, but the outcome is still the same. You still live with her, it's just that your relationship will be affected. And these types of story writing makes you question whether you want your action to have a completely different outcome, or do you want your actions to affect relationships only, because that's the whole point of the game. So I'll leave that to you. And the next scene is immediately seeing the college graduate calling her family, because they aren't coming to her graduation because they're busy, I guess. And you, again, as knight in shining armor, came to the rescue. You can either pick to come as her boyfriend or her family member. Careful there, buddy. You'll become family zone even before episode 3 of this game. And the game immediately cuts to a scene where 3 of the girls are in your apartments. They have a piece of cake because there's something to celebrate, I guess, because he has a job. He really never mentioned it explicitly, so but then you have a choice now who to give the cake to. You can either split it into 3 or you could give it to one of the girls. And after that, you said that they will be having a feast when the landlord comes in saying that you haven't even paid the rent, so how can you afford a feast? And this becomes a choice again. You could either live with the girl that invited you to the club, you could be living with the art connoisseur, or you could ask the college graduate who's just passing by working a lot of part-time jobs to pay for your rent, or you could beg your landlord and see what happens.
别呀哥，我在这儿都住出感情了，你别让我走行吗？
交钱就能住。
出了钱，我什么都能给你。
你呀，是真不要脸呐！
Which is what I picked in my first playthrough because I was quite curious. But turns out all your relationship lessons because they see you as a wimp, and I cannot blame them. And depending on your choice, you will go to 3 different dates depending on your option. So preference really comes in, so it really depends on your choice. And all of the dates will be ruined by your childhood friend at the end of the chapter, no matter the choice, which in my opinion is the most annoying character of the game. So yes, the next chapter starts with you talking to your childhood friend because she chased you to your current location just for a small debt in the past, and somehow she gives you a contract to basically become your dog. Her words, not mine. Which is kind of insane, and the guy just willy-nilly signs it. Bro, what the heck? Like, you have more rights. I mean, oh yeah, you live in China. Who would agree to this? And if you choose to go on a date with someone else, she stalks you and claims that no dating is allowed in the contract. And somehow the girl that invited you to the club comes over to the rescue as she has an idea to fake a pregnancy test just to spite your childhood friend, which in my opinion is just another spectrum of wrong and like so spiteful. And even if you chose not to go with her plan, she manages to gather a lot of people in front of your childhood friend's house and, you know, admit her love for you. You know, I'm just surprised at, like, what's the end goal here? Like, the girl knows that your childhood friend has a crush on you, but still, is any guy worth this? Like, I still don't see how this plan works. I don't understand. And if you do go with her plan, there is still another choice of either backing down with your choice or completely doubling down on your choice. So it really depends on who's your preference and which relationship you want to improve upon in your playthrough. But your childhood friend is surprisingly supportive of your art career because she invited her uncle to buy your paintings. And just cut to all the girls wanting to help the main character make his own art studio in which they all have their own different ideas, and you can pick which idea you prefer more, or more like which person you prefer more. But at the end of the day, there'll just be a cutscene where they're all working together, all rainbow and sunshine, and I guess your choices don't really matter, I guess, other than to the relationship meter. And the art connoisseur actually sent social influencers to the art studio to help you promote your art. But I don't understand why, with either choices of making either a good painting or ruining the painting, you still botched it anyway with either choice, which leads us to the childhood friend crying because she heard news that her father collapsed and is now on the hospital, which we learn next chapter that it was a lie because the father doesn't like the main character. I mean, who blames him? Who would want their daughter to be with a guy that has a lot of debt? And I feel like he just has bad luck in terms of earning money or staying in a job. And the art connoisseur is actually really disappointed that you ruin your chance with the social influencer, which kind of pisses me off too, because like you can't really blame us because we picked the choice where we wanted to make a good art piece and yet the game does otherwise either way, so it's already predetermined. Which leads us to the next chapter, which starts off with the main character with a job as a waiter, and not long after that he got entangled into another drama with another girl. A divorced couple fighting in the restaurant, and the woman just decided to pick a waiter to pretend to be her boyfriend. And adding fuel to the fire is Ziyan pretending to be another mistress that the main character has. And we soon found out later in the chapter that the ex-husband is an actual boxer, so it's not looking good for him now, is it? As soon as the ex-husband leaves, the divorcee actually gave the main character a huge tip, which the manager immediately takes and gets the main character fired, even if you give him the tip or you take what's rightfully his, because there's a single complaint, so he did not pass his probation. Talk about bad luck. And the divorcee immediately offers him a contract to be her fake boyfriend. And Yechin, the divorcee, has the bright idea to actually take you to the ex-husband's boxing ring where he trains. Is she trying to get us killed? So they inevitably fight to show who's manlier. And the worst case scenario is that you end up in the hospital and you both got exhausted. I don't even know how that's possible. If you pick the right options, you actually woke up in the hospital winning the battle in a way, in quotation. You woke up in the hospital with a jealous guy in the same hospital room because he sees you being visited by 3 attractive girls. As soon as you discharge from the hospital, you got contacted by 2 girls wanting to thank you for your efforts, leaving Yinsi, the art connoisseur, alone, the woman who has given her home and money to start up your art gallery. And after the date, the main character has the audacity to leave her, as in choose homelessness for some reason. Bro, this is not how you repay kindness. Like, this moment cemented my hate for the main character the first time I played. But after working for a year, I kinda can relate with him because receiving help and bearing no fruit really makes you feel the imposter syndrome. At the end of the chapter, as you're leaving her house, you got hit by a car that is owned by a beautiful CEO. This guy's luck is all over the place. One, he got hit by a car, but he got introduced to a beautiful CEO. Well, it really depends on your perspective, I guess. And the next chapter starts off with you getting a job as her driver. Like, seriously, giving him a job that caused his trauma. Like, don't you remember that you just hit him like a few hours ago, even a few minutes ago? And as soon as she's giving you the tour of her office, you meet Xiaoliu and Yechin working in the same company. What a small world. And he immediately run away. Like, either choice, you run away, decreasing your relationship meter with those 2 girls. And in a surprising turn of event, Xiaoliu actually interviews you for the job. I sense a conflict of interest here. I'm genuinely surprised at how supportive the other 2 girls are of his job. And they're more worried about the main character's relationship with their boss. Girl, he's got bigger problems. He's homeless and unemployed. There are bigger things to worry about. One day, there is a fight between the CEO and another guy in the office with a lot of onlookers. And this is probably the most sane guy in the game. He's trying to be smart about business, but of course, he had to save the day. Later that night, you invite your boss for a night out. Damn, bro, you're aiming high. But it makes her realize that she's been focusing too much on her career. But I don't agree with their actions because they don't pay for their meal even though she's like filthy rich, and you go into a restricted area just so that you can paint together. You do you, I guess. And later that night, the guy actually came to the boss's house saying that you are being too emotional. But I still don't understand the relationship between the 2. Is he like her ex-boyfriend or business partner but had emotional feelings? So they never really explain that or make it clear. And one day, Yechin and Xiaoliu actually visited your rental place because they want to help you tidy it up, I guess. But then in a turn of event, your CEO or your boss visits you and suddenly just confess your feelings overnight. Okay. Bro, you don't know this guy. You're filthy rich. Are you sure you're gonna trust your treasures with this guy that has a lot of debt? And how do you know that his motivation is clean? Like, seriously. And once the boss realizes that her subordinates are there, she actually threatens them to call security. Like, what? And the next chapter immediately makes you pick which one you want to be with. And if you prolong that decision, you can actually lose all of them, or you can be their male best friend. Story of my life. It must be so hard to pick between 6 girls that are fighting over you. So we are at the final lap, folks. All the endings are the same, happily ever after, with minor differences. With choosing Ye Qin, the divorcee, you'll become a father. Wow, bro. You can't even pay off your debt and you want to be a dad already? Choosing the CEO will make you not work for the rest of your life, while Xiaolu will make you work together to save money. And there's also a hidden ending of Li Yunxi. You are together with your long lost love connecting through art, and your childhood best friend just ends up marrying you, I guess. And the other one is also just another montage of your happy moments living together, so not anything significant. And if you do have very low relationship, you'll die. No, seriously, you'll just die. Like in the middle of one of the chapters, you'll die if your relationship is too low. And yeah, so that's it. That's the whole story of Love Is All Around. And you know, ironically, this reminds me of Spider-Man. Like the main character just has a really bad luck in terms of work, but doesn't really have trouble in getting girls. And again, I'll have to say that what I hate most about this game is the main character, because he just has the worst luck, and I feel like he just can't work. But at the same time, after a year of working, I kind of can relate to him, which is just so hard. I don't know if I'm maturing or just went through a character arc in 2024, but yeah, I just feel like the main character's actions do not warrant the affection of the girls compared to Knowledge or No Lady, which is what I'll be talking about next. Wow, the first video where I know what the next video is gonna be about. See you in the next one.
Goodbye.